All right, guys. Game week press conference. We'll start with Coach Harsin, and then we will open it up for questions.
All right. Good afternoon. First, just kind of a little bit of a recap, not so much on camp, but I do want to give a shout out to Brad Larondo and Josh Borgman. They did a great job, just with our social media stuff throughout fall camp. And you go to BoiseStateFootball.com, you're going to be able to keep up, I think, with current events that are going on with our football team. I think it'll be a good place for people to go to find information about Boise State. Also on the uniform builder portion of that, the new app is on there as well. Those of you that haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's a pretty cool deal that they've put together. I think people are having a lot of fun with it. We named captains yesterday, and they were voted on by their peers. The two captains, permanent captains, and we'll also have an honorary captain. We'll have the hammer each game as well, but the two permanent captains, on offense, Marcus Henry, and on defense, Darian Thompson. And I think that's a great award to be given because it is by your teammates, and those two guys deserve it. Those two guys have done a great job with this football team and their leadership. I think it's more too than just on the football field, and those guys both have those qualities. As far as Washington, 8-6 in 2014. A couple things stat-wise, just talking about their offense. Last year they threw for 2,800 yards. They ran for 2,700 yards, so they're pretty balanced if you look at it from that standpoint. Their running back, Dwayne Washington, I think is a very good football player. Shows to be very dynamic with the ball in his hands, and has made some really big plays for them. Joshua Perkins, the tight end, 315 yards, receiving 3 TDs. Jaden Mickens, who's changed his number now to number 1, very dynamic, can do a lot, and they use him in a variety of ways. Defense, they were 22nd in rush defense last year, 124 yards per game, which is pretty good. They talked about moving some people around on defense, so I think that's one thing, that we've got to just be prepared for is maybe some new faces in different positions. But these guys have played. They've got guys, not so much in the front end, but some linebackers that have played. And so, whether they put them somewhere different, they played the game. So Corey Littleton, is a good football player. Travis, their stud. Buda Baker, those guys have stood out watching film and played very well. And like I said, we'll just be prepared if they move those guys around where they are. Special teams-wise, field goal 20-24 last year. Their punter at an average of 42 yards, which is very good. They're multiple formation in their punt. They do a variety of different things. We know who the special teams coordinator is, Coach Choate. He was here from 2006 to 2011, so we've seen a lot from the film over the years, and obviously working with him. Kickoff return, they had 6 TDs, which is very good, 1 TD on punt return. And so we just got to be, ready for, some different things we're going to throw at us in special teams. So I think the interesting thing about this is you have a lot of information, I think, on both sides, from over the years. At the same time, we got to go out there and do what's best for this football team and go play. And, our guys are looking forward to getting out there and getting to work this week. It being game week now, we do have an opponent to finally play at the end of these practices, and I think everybody's excited about that and getting really college football kicked off, this next week. It was I saw the tail end of the North Dakota State Montana game. I turned it on when it was 4th and 10, and they got the conversion, and I watched it from there, and what a fabulous job they did, just managing. And I thought, at the end of that game, Coach Stitt did a great job of just kind of sticking to his guns there and running the football in, and believing in his guys. And North Dakota State, what a tremendous program. I mean, those guys they're going to bounce back. But that was fun to watch, and kind of just gets the blood flowing, and that college football is here. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
course, we haven't seen a depth chart, so can you tell us, nickel, running back, backup quarterback, offensive line, what you guys doing in some of these places?
Yep, you guys will. You'll see one. Nickel position, Chancellor James and Mercy both, I thought had a very good camp. Chancellor James right now will go out there and start at nickel. Mercy will play. That's a position now. When we talk about like running back, I mean, there's not just one that you use the entire game, and I think the nickel position is the same way. At the running back position, Jeremy McNichols, Kelsey Young, both those guys, and Devin Demas, you're going to see all three. Depending on what the first play of the game is, one might start over the other one, but I think between those three, you're going to see a variety of. Now, Jeremy will be a guy that I felt did a great job in fall camp. I think Kelsey has really picked things up and has provided exactly what we needed at that position. A guy that's physical and runs extremely hard. So those two guys and Devin, you're going to see all of them in there. And we run out there the first play. I'd expect Jeremy to be out there lined up. That could change, but that's what I would expect at this point. O-line, Reese at left tackle, Mario at left guard, Marcus and Mason, both those guys, that's to be determined. Stephen Baggett at guard, right tackle Archie Lewis, and our tight ends, Jake Rowe, Holden Huff, Jake Hardy, those guys, I mean, you name the formation or whatever, you'll see all three out there, and it might be that case when we play the very first play of the game. On the D-line, Tyler Horn, Armand Nance, JT, both those guys, Armand and JT still competing. At D-tackle, Deuce Elliott, Antoine Turner. You're going to see all of those guys in the rotation. Kamale Correa at stud, and Gabe and Jabril have all played in there. Kamale would start. Linebackers, Ben and Tanner and Tyler Gray. All three of those guys you'll see in the mix. And then at corner, Dante backed up by Tyler Horton. So Tyler Horton is expected, like we've talked about, we expect him to go play, and he will play. At the safety, Dylan Sumner Gardner and Cam Miles. At the other safety, Darian Thompson, Cameron Hartsfield. And, between Cam Miles and Hartsfield, those guys could flip, boundary safety, free safety. And at the corner position, Jonathan Moxie and Raymond Ford is how we have it lined up. And we'll have this list out to you later this afternoon. Tyler Rasa, I think we know that, will be kicking for us. Sean Whale, punting. Kevin Keene, snapping. So that hasn't changed from what you guys know.
Backup quarterback.
All they're all oars. Yes, that's an all oar right there. We have one for sure, and then we have oars. And
because they were oars all
yeah, I saw all the oars there. We didn't do that with every one of them. I will say this, about the backup position. I think Tommy Stewart had his best practice a couple days ago. Alex continues to impress and get better. The more he just is in the game plan now and not redshirting, the better he gets. And then, Brett is the same way. So, I think as we get into this game plan this week, there'll be a couple guys sharing those backup reps, and we'll see where they're at, and we'll make a decision, of who would go in if that were the case in the game.
Speaking of quarterbacks on the other side, considering that Washington, Lindquist played a little bit, but most of their quarterbacks haven't played there at all, really. How difficult is that for you to prepare when they haven't named anybody? Most of those guys you probably haven't even seen play college football.
No, I think it's not much different than our situation. All the oars, they're going to have a quarterback. Who it is, don't know. And, that's up to them to decide. We'll be prepared to play against whoever's playing quarterback. And, they're not going to go into the game with three different offensive systems. They got a plan, and one of them has to run that system. And, as we get into the game, whoever that is, we have to go defend whatever system they're running and make adjustments along the way, and that's what we'll do.
You said Henry or Hampton. Is Henry still physically not ready then? Or?
No, he's ready.
Okay.
Mason, and I want to say something about him too, with Marcus being out some of the camp, Mason Hampton really stepped up. And we talk about that a lot in our program. But I don't think there's a better example than Mason and what he's done in camp. And, we put Mason on scholarship last year because we thought he was a very good football player and was deserving. And he's, in my opinion, done a fantastic job through camp. So, he's gotten better. That's part of, competition. That's part of opportunity. And so, as these couple practices happen this week, we'll determine that.
Obviously, one of the storylines this week is Coach Pete coming back in town.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I don't know if you've heard, but do you find yourself, with your relationship with him, kind of trying to get inside his head and guess what kinds of things he's going to do, or you try not to play that game?
No, I try to stay out of my own head, let alone get into his. No, we're just worried about our team. That's it. That's really it. All that stuff. We've got enough on our plate that we have to just concentrate on the Broncos and what we do. I'm not playing. Our guys are playing. And so that really has nothing to do with it. We're going to get our guys prepared. I'm excited for those guys to get to run out there and play. They've been working so hard to go out there and just compete. That's what you want to do as a player. So that's all we're focused on. At 8:15, when the ball's kicked off, we get to go out there and find out where we are as a football team. And that's all we're focused on, is one day at a time leading up to that. And that's just been our mindset, and we'll continue to be.
You mentioned Choate and kind of knowing special teams wise there.
Yeah.
Coach Pete was saying the other day that when he watches you guys on film and stuff, he sees a lot of similarities to what they do. I mean, from a style standpoint, how similar when you're looking at them are the two teams? Yeah,
well, I think there's so much information over the years that you just see things come back around. You might see one year where a formation or a scheme wasn't used. The next year it is. You kind of go back. And so I think how much film you draw from, you're going to see a lot of similarities. It's obvious. The two staffs have been together, and so and over that time, things worked. You're going to probably use some of those things. But I still see enough now, what they did, what we've done, probably what they could do, what we can do. Things change. That's the one thing. No one's going to know until we go out there and line up, and then you're going to see some differences, probably on both sides at that point.
At one point in time, Coach Pete said that this game is great for college football. With you guys opening at home on national television against Coach Pete, against the Washington Huskies, do you feel that same belief as well? I think there's obviously, from the media standpoint, there's a storyline behind it. I think when the Broncos open up at home, that's good for college football. I do. I think playing at Albertson Stadium, seeing the blue on TV, and our guys playing in all blue out there and running around, our crowd, I think that's just a good thing because I think our atmosphere is very good, and that just adds to the excitement in college football. And there's other teams like that. I like our atmosphere. I like, our guys being at home, and I think that's a big thing for college football in general.
To be clear, you're saying you guys are wearing all blue?
What's that?
You're saying you guys are wearing all blue?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Was that ever a question? Huh? Did I not say that? No.
The true freshman, is there anybody else you've made a decision in terms of them playing this year? And also with Brett, is it either he starts or he doesn't play and you redshirt him situation, or is there some gray area there with him?
I think that's to be determined down the road. Right now, as we go through this week, if he's prepared to play, he's prepared to play, and we're going to play him. I think, right now, as you get into the year, right now, those decisions are too difficult to make. You're playing to be successful and try to win the game. As you get into the year, I think some of those come up of, we're at a point now, is this beneficial, to play a guy that hasn't burned his redshirt year yet. So, we'll see. We'll do what's best, for him and for this football team. The other guy, Darion Jackson, is another guy that has a chance of playing. Now, don't know if that's going to happen yet, but if it is, for he and Tyler Horton, both those guys, they've obviously got guys in front of them, that are good football players. So those guys are going to have to do a great job on special teams as well. We've got to get them into into those teams, and Coach Riddle's done a great job with that. But those are two guys right now that would be considered on the defensive side. On the offensive side, Killian Butler at wide receiver is a guy we're considering playing, and he'll be taking reps this week, and we'll kind of see where he's at. We also want to make sure, and the nice thing about the way our schedule is set up is the guys have had a week of school, and we can kind of feel where they're at, with the whole process, school, life, football, the whole thing. And I think all our young guys have done a good job. They can handle that, and we feel comfortable with those three guys right now, and we'll see if they play or not in the game.
Never.
I don't know, just getting back to the matchup, does it feel any different for you guys in-house preparing for this game? Or, is it any different at all?
Yeah, there's a lot of information, and I think a lot of people want to give you information, so from that standpoint, a little bit. Other than that, no. We're preparing like we prepared. I think we're doing it better, hopefully, than we did last year. What that means, I don't know the result, but at least in our process, we've learned from last year, and I think how we did camp and how we're doing things now is better, and that remains to be seen. But no, there's a lot of information that you can pull from. You probably got access to more film and data and different things you wouldn't have against another opponent, just because of obviously the nature of the stabs and all that. But other than that, no. And that's again, I want to make it clear. Our players are preparing to go play. All this stuff really has nothing to do with any of that. That's really coaches and staffs, and this game is not about the staffs. It's about the players, and they're the ones that are going to be playing. And I just want to make that clear. That's what we're focused on, is our guys, and we want to see their successes happen that they've been working so hard for in this game, whatever that result means. Hopefully it's a win, but that's what we're looking forward to.
Doing something to kind of when Coach P left and you took over and kind of the evolution of everything. How did you first find out that he was leaving, and how quickly did you kind of have interest in
Well, I think I said it was like a millisecond was the interest factor. I don't remember. I think rumors, like anything else. I don't know where it came from, but rumors, and obviously people contacting me and letting me know that some things might be going down at Boise State. I'm obviously perked up to that and wanted to know what was happening. So yeah, it wasn't, as far as interest went, that wasn't even kind of an issue. Very interested, and then as the process worked out, we all kind of know how that played out.
Ryan was in sort of a weird situation here. He's the only guy that wasn't recruited by the staff. He had a bad shoulder when you guys got here. Can you take us a little bit through kind of what your reaction was when you showed up and you had a quarterback with a bad shoulder, and what he's done over the last year and a half to get himself in this position? Yeah.
My first reaction was, that's about the worst thing. When you first come in and you want to have an impression, you want to be able to see somebody, and he had shoulder surgery. Immediately my reaction was, this is not good, because we're not going to be able to see right away. In hindsight, that was the best thing that could have happened for him. Because now he's recovered and he's been able to compete when we've had him out there on the field. But, you watched his high school tape. You got a chance to talk to him, be around him. Guys on the staff knew why they recruited him. So there was information that way too. So it wasn't like, we were just blind to Ryan. He was here. There's nothing, we weren't going to change that, but we had to get to know him. And I think from where he's been to where he is now, guys mature, and just not just physically, mentally, as a leader. I've been really happy with how he's led the team out there. The way he's communicating to the players what needs to get done. So just growth. He's still young. He hasn't played a game, really, as the starter. He's come in and played, but to go out there and take the first snap, I'm excited for him and to see what he does, and expect him to go out there and operate. Play his very best. Trust his preparation, and I think he's done all those things well. And
as we've gotten to know him, really like, who he is and how he goes about, trying to better himself each day and each week.
Coach, first games, both from the coaching staff and the players' point of view, what's different about this than, say, the second game after you've got a chance to watch it? The NFL has 4 preseason games.
Yeah. You never know. The first game, there's so much that every team does. I wouldn't say every, but most teams will experiment in fall camp. They're going to have new ideas. You got new players. You've got new ways to feature some guys that you didn't know about either on your football team. And you just got to kind of be on your toes, in these first couple. I always think it's the first 3 games. The first game, hey, if things go well for you, probably that next game you're going to see something similar. If things don't go well, you're going to probably see something different. If the games are close, by the 3rd game, I think most teams have settled in. And so, you just got to be ready for kind of the unexpected. And I think in fall camp, we've thrown at each other a lot of variety. I don't know how much more there is in football and schemes and things like that. We've kind of seen all of it. Now, what part of that shows up in these first couple games to be determined. But, we just have to draw from what we've learned in camp, how we played or attacked whatever scheme it is, and be ready to do that in the game and make adjustments.
You brought up the Montana game yesterday, how that got blood flowing. I remember last year, every press conference, you thank the fans. The season opener is every home game, every game.
Right.
Do you take a step back from coaching and just kind of look around and kind of think about the atmosphere, the situation that you're in before the game starts or during it?
That's hard. You're kind of in the moment. A little bit. That kind of comes up at the end of the year, as you go back. And there's moments, prior to the game where it's, you got to take it in. I don't think that's something you go out there to do, but it just happens. And, I think for the players too, I think that's part of the experience. And if you don't do that, you're not going out there to focus on that, but you need to take a little bit of time and stop and look around and appreciate the fact that you have an opportunity like this to do what we do, and that we have people like Bronco Nation that come out and bring that vibe and that energy together. That's a pretty cool thing. So, as I saw the Montana, you could feel that, and that's a neat deal. And they've got great fans, and they've obviously had a successful program, and you just get that feel, and that's something that college football is all about, and I think that's what makes it great.
Going into this game, Washington has no returners on the offensive line, plus a new quarterback. You have a quarterback that you mentioned that hasn't had that much playing time as well. What are your expectations going into a game like this?
Well, I don't know from their standpoint. I've got to see what they do. They have good players. I don't necessarily think, returners. I know they have good football players on their team, and we know some of those guys that are on that team that are going to play, and they're good football players. We have good football players too, and what you hope to see from our football team is for our guys to go out there and operate and execute, overcome adversity. That's going to happen in the game, and continue to do that for 4 quarters. What type of team do we have? Do we fight for 4 quarters? Are we going to go out there and do what we prepared to do and do it consistently? And if something negative happens, how are we going to rally together and overcome that? How's the momentum of the game going to go? How do we adjust with it and take advantage of it? How do we fight back against it? Those are the things that I look at, in a game. Now, scheme, that all adjusts. I feel confident in our schemes. I feel confident in our preparation for that, and we have to go out there and execute it. But I think it's going to be just the ebbs and flows of the game that we've got to be able to manage, and that's important when you're talking about young players. It's important as the first game of the season, and I think that's something that kind of sets the tone, for your future games is, how you handle those things early on.
You talk about Ryan Finley's leadership, and one thread amongst other players has been that he's a really funny guy. Does he have the type of sense of humor that could lighten the mood during a tense moment in the game in the huddle or on the sideline?
You know what? That must be outside this building because he's pretty focused in the building here. No, he does. He has when you get him in a one-on-one setting, and the one thing I'll say about Ryan is, normally when I see him, he's in the weight room, he's in the quarterback meeting room, he's preparing, watching film on his own, and he's in preparation mode, and that's the one thing I like about him. He's focused on the task at hand, and I think when you sit down with him, he's got a great personality. He is a funny guy. I think the guys enjoy him. I think when he's on the football field, he's out there and it means business. It's time to get to work and do things right, and he wants to execute. And I think he's got a high level that he wants to achieve, every time he goes out there to practice. I think guys feel that. So, and I think that's a good thing. All those qualities as a leader, I think you need to have that. It's not football all the time, and guys are around him, obviously off the field. And so, I think those are good things to have. And, when we get on the football field, they know he means business, and we got to prepare to go out there and play well.
A few more guys.
Since you came back to Boise State, Coach Pete went to UW, what kind of a relationship have you maintained with him this matchup aside?
We've talked a few times, text message, about what you'd expect. He's got a lot on his plate and a lot to do. We've got a lot on our plate here and a lot to do. And there's no disrespect. It's just, we're both doing different things and focusing on our football team. So I think there, amongst the staff, there's been relationships, that have continued there and text messages and phone calls, probably in the summertime more than there is right now. We're focused on football and getting our seasons prepared, but nothing negative. And, we're playing in a football game. That hasn't changed that. We're focused on what we're trying to do.
One time, Coach Yates said that you and Pete, in terms of offensive mind and people, were the most competitive people that he's ever been around in the game of football. Did you recognize that in Pete when you were his assistant? And then finally, when you first got hired here, did you obviously feel the pressure or any pressure at all to fill those shoes and that unprecedented success that obviously you guys went on a run here with over those 8 years?
Right. Yeah, I think our whole staff. I don't know if it was any one of us in particular. I think our staff was competitive, and I think our coach. I think that's just the nature. I would hope. You're doing this. You're competitive, and so much of our time is not spent playing the game. It's practicing and preparing, but it all leads up to the result. And I think we've all been competitive in those areas, of just preparation. And that was something that, I don't know if I learned it. That's kind of something that I felt like, I've been around and been a part of. It's just that competitiveness. As far as the pressure here, I said it before, people talked about the wins and all that. Well, I was here for a lot of them too. And so I understood that, the expectations there. And a lot of guys on the staff understand the expectations as well. And it's not to do with any one particular individual. It's about this program. And so I never thought about it that way. I never thought as far as, me coming in here and trying to compare to an individual. It's about what do we have to do to help this program continue to be successful, because that's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with me, Coach Pete, or anybody that's coached here before. It's about Boise State and what this program has done. It's been good before we got here. I hope it stays and does well while we're here, and it's going to be good when we're gone. And, that's the goal.
Knowing this place and, on game night, what it's like out there in Albertson Stadium, and knowing the fans' excitement level for this game for all the reasons, what are you expecting on Friday night, just from an atmosphere and a crowd and just the electricity in the stadium?
You said it, electric. One of the best atmospheres in college football. And, I hope that we set the tone for college football when it comes to our fans and what the atmosphere is, and that we continue that. So, I hope we set the bar as high as it possibly can be, and we start right there, and we'll take it one game at a time, and that goes for our fans and how we set the tone for our football team. But I hope it's better than it's ever been, and I hope we're doing things better than they've ever been done from that standpoint. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited about it.
two totally unrelated things. Anybody who's not playing in this game, injuries, discipline, anything. And then it's come up that Armand Nance is a pretty good emotional leader for this team. Just wondering what you've seen from him in that role.
Yeah, no, it's to your first question right now. And, you know, obviously we haven't played yet. So as far as, Armand, yeah, Armand has got a personality about him, and it is fun and exciting and live and all that. So I think he brings that emotion to playing that you just feed off of. He loves playing, and he loves it so much that when you're around him, you love it. You know, I think that's just what he brings. And to me, that's, you know, from a leadership standpoint or a player standpoint, it's hard not to want to be around guys like that. So he does some things, you know, pregame for the team and all that. He kind of gets everybody hyped up. For whatever reason, the D-line the other day in practice, I don't know what was going on, but they had more energy than I've ever seen. And they were flying around and bouncing around and hooping and hollering, and he was right in the mix. And I don't know what they did down there. They actually, in the indoor, I don't know how they did it, but we have padding around it. They somehow knocked about 8 panels off the wall, and so they wrecked the wall in the indoor. I don't know how they did it, but they were excited about that for some reason. I don't know if they were talking about tearing down the house or whatever, but that seemed to carry over for the rest of practice and got everybody else going. So it was really good. But yeah, Armand is right in the middle of all that, and I think he's done a great job with our team.
All right, guys. Thanks,
Good? Yep.
I'll meet you in your office at 1:45.